Hi there, it's Lisa with my Pagan Path Works, and in today's video we are going to talk about a little bit about what I put in my garden and how I decided, and just a little bit about the plants that I put in my garden. And so I have been posting a lot on Facebook, and someone asked me for tips on how I got started. So let me start out by saying that I did a lot of research on YouTube before I even started planting. And so the one thing that was most important to me is because I did not really want it to be something that was going to stay here permanently. Um, I have reasons for that, but for the most part, I wanted it to be something above ground and not in the ground. Because with the small size of my backyard and the fact that we have suburban deer, we have like there's actually, I think there's two herds, and I suppose it could be because the bucks form one herd, or herb. The bucks form one herd and the does form another. That makes it seem like there's two herds of deer. I'm not really sure. I don't know a whole lot about deer, but I do know they like to eat plants, and so the the one governing factor in building my garden was how can I protect it from those deer. Okay, so uh, as I needed to be able to protect my garden from the deer, and so that means that basically the garden has to be enclosed somehow. And since I have such a small budget and not a lot of space, my original plan was just to use that 10 by 10 slant leg frame from a canopy as the base for my enclosed garden and just garden strictly in containers. Well, if you've been following my channel at all, you know I have found a way to extend that, where I have some inbound or in the ground beds as well, and I have extended that netting all the way around. So now I have both in the ground beds and in containers. But originally, I mean, if you are renting a place and it doesn't belong to you, or if you live in an apartment and all you've got is balcony space, then container gardening would be your best bet. And so that's how I originally intended to grow food, was in containers. Um, and I thought that that would make it easier for me, and I wouldn't have to spend so much time weeding, and I still believe that because my in the ground beds I'm gonna have to weed them pretty soon because the grass and the weeds are growing up, and they're also being eaten by the critters, and I have to figure out a way around that. The ones in the pots have been a little bit safer from insects than the ones in the ground. So keep that in mind when you are planning your own garden, how much time you're going to have to spend weeding and protecting them from insects. And so that's also a consideration. Just do your homework. There is a plethora of information out on YouTube about gardening, especially gardening in containers and how to grow different foods in containers. I spent a lot of time. I found a lot of homesteaders with some really awesome advice. My the one of the There's two that I recommend the most, and it's Off Grid with Doug and Stacy, and it's Appalachian Homestead with Patera. Pardon me. Those are my two favorite homesteaders that I like to watch a lot. They give a really practical information. So um, if you want, go out and find them. I'll try to link their pages in my description box as well. So how did I decide what to plant? So what I did was looked at, what do I buy when I go to the grocery store? What kind of fresh foods do I buy when I go to the grocery store to cook for myself? So anybody that knows me there knows that there are eh, three things that are like three things that are absolute staples in my cooking: onions, peppers, and mushrooms. So I put those three things in just about every casserole I ever make. It's got onions, peppers, or bell peppers, and mushrooms in it. I just love them. The other two vegetables that are like a staple in our household are zucchini and yellow squash. And so canned food that we eat is like peas and green beans and carrots, and so when I was looking at those displays of seeds in the store, I picked the things that we buy when we go buy canned food or fresh food from the grocery store. So it is food that we're going to eat, and so it's not going to go to waste later when it comes time to harvest. I will figure out how to preserve what we grow and make it last, because that is the whole point of having a victory garden. Right now it's just a victory garden. It is not enough to sustain my household for a whole year. um, Before I get that aggressive in what I'm planting, I have to be able to know how to can and preserve food, and right now that's a skill I don't possess. So right now it's just a victory garden. It's stuff that we can eat right away, and it's stuff that we can store in the freezer because we do have a freezer. And but as far as drying food into chips, I love veggie chips. I'd like to learn how to do that. There's a lot of skills that I would like to learn. But right now, my main objective in the Victory Garden is to learn how to garden to begin with. I need to be able to learn this skill, and then when I have experienced the whole growing season for the first time and have some experience under my belt, then the next year I can expand and build on what I learned this year, to make the garden go beyond being just a victory garden into something that provides us a that sustains us for at least a year. Um, but for right now, I mean, and I have discovered that it is possible to grow that much food in a little bitty place. I have, we live in a standard lot in the city or in the suburbs. It's a standard lot, it's postage size. But I have learned from watching all these YouTubers that it is possible to grow a great deal of food in a little bit of space. You just have to plan it really well, and you have to go vertical instead of horizontal. So the things that you can train to grow upwards on a trellis or something, then take advantage of the vertical space. And so that is my eventual plan going forward. But right now, it's just a victory garden. It's just here to provide us with just a little bit of sustainability on our own. So, next I want to talk about the seeds themselves. Okay, so um, This is the package that I bought that had the onion sets to grow sweet yellow onions. And this is it's it says right there that it's edible, so that's important. You want edible plants in your victory garden. And on the back of these, I mean, it gives you step by step, well, over here, sorry, step by step planting instructions for these. And at the top of this is your spacing requirements and how much sun it needs and everything you need to know about growing yellow onions. Now, these directions are there no matter which plant. Like, this is your the package for the cantaloupes. It is spelled out in you know, it takes 7 to 14 days to germinate. You need to sow the seed at least an inch, and it needs to be 3 per hill and 4 to 6 feet apart from each other, and it takes 90 to 102 days to. I mean, it's just very explicit information on. Um, these need a sunny location to grow in. Um, it's like this is the watermelon. Watermelon. This is you can grow 6 plants every 6 feet. Um, so I have my watermelons. There are 4 of them came up, so that's going to be good for that particular bed. And this tells you, to sow seeds indoors, but I sowed them directly in the ground because all danger of frost is past here where we live. And it does say to thin the seedlings when they are 2 inches in height, with the final spacing of the plants 2 every 6 feet. So I have mine a little bit closer than that, but I do also plan to get some liquid fertilizer from somewhere, either off the internet or in the store, whichever place I can get it. And to give all of my container plants a little bit of liquid fertilizer to ensure they don't run out of nutrients before the harvest. So keep that in mind also if you're doing container gardening. You may need to put some liquid fertilizer in if you didn't put fertilizer in the soil before you plant it, which I did not. And I did that on purpose because I used too much when I first started trying to garden, and I killed all the seeds rotted in the ground. They never came up. So I'm very leery of those slow release fertilizers. So I plan to use liquid fertilizers for some of these. And and so, as I'm saying, I mean, all of these, all of these packages, no matter which vegetable or which plant, even like, I think I have some marigold seeds in here. Yes, even the marigold seeds give you explicit instructions on the back of the seed package on how to grow them, and those instructions are really important. And so, um, the other thing that I did, and I made a spreadsheet and I listed everything I had in my garden, everything I planted. I listed when I planted it, when I expected the seedlings to come up out of the ground. I'd put the variety down to know what I planted, and how many days to harvest. I just took some of the information that was on the back of the seeds and put it in a spreadsheet so I would have it there for quick reference. Now, the spreadsheet is not so important as the garden journal, and I wanted to be able to keep track, and my daughter suggested this, which is one of the reasons why I did it, is because I needed to be able to keep track of what works and what doesn't work for me. So it is basically um, a garden book of shadows, if you want to go that far, and um, or a garden grimoire, and just to keep track of what worked, what didn't work, and what maybe I need to change up, and the problems that I'm encountering, and all of this. I mean, because memories fail, and I want to be able to pass this down eventually to anybody who, to my grandchildren if they want these journals. Um, just to be able to pass that information down. Now, hard drives fail, you know, so I've written it down on a piece of paper now. Yes, I know people have house fires, paper can disappear just as much as a computer, but the paper is less prone to disappearing than hard drives, in my own opinion. So if you are a first-time gardener, that is what I recommend for you. And then also, um, because that's what's helped me, because I'm a first-time gardener, to be honest. Now, I have always lived to grow houseplants in my house, and I have propagated many an ivy, because when things fall off, I just can't make myself throw it away. If it's still green, it's still alive to me, and it deserves to get replanted. And so, at one point, my house was full of pot plants. So um, now I don't have as many plants because I just have my one room here with my parents. But I do have more than one plant in my room, and sometimes it's like, oh my God, where do I put these guys? And did I remember to water them? That was important, is remembering to water them. So uh, just keep track of what you're planning. Be cognizant of how long it takes for them to germinate, because like my bell peppers are past that time when they should have come up, and I'm pretty sure the problem with the peppers is that it's been a little cool, and the bell peppers really like heat. And so the second thing that didn't come up is the cantaloupes, and I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm gonna need to replant those as well, because they just didn't come up. And so two failures out of all of those plants. This time is pretty good. I feel very fortunate. The plants are doing well. They're growing. The only problem I've been experiencing is insects, and I have to do some more research to figure out a natural, organic way to keep insects from eating my tomato plants that are in the ground. Um, so anyway, I hope this helps you, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I invite you to like and subscribe to the channel. Um, I do have some more witchy content coming about right now, since I'm transitioning to that green witch. You're gonna hear a lot about what I'm growing. So I hope you'll bear with me and like and subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss a video. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and have a great day.